Good afternoon, everybody. How's it going out there? I am, of course, your narrator, Mr. Rob Robot Shlomo. We are here at Midnight's Edge on the main channel. New York Comic Con is taking place, and the Star Trek panels have just concluded. I am, of course, again, your narrator, Robot Shlomo. With me is Mr. Tom Connors.
Good afternoon. And Andre sends his best from Munich. He tried to come through, but between the booze and the internet, it just wasn't working.
He's with us in spirit. And joining
spirits.
Yeah, spirits. And joining us is one of our favorite guests. We love having him back, and he's nice enough to join us. Mr. Robert Meyer Burnett.
Well, it's great to be here. It's a pretty big day. A lot of news to discuss, and I'm happy you invited me to do so with you, lovely gentlemen.
Well, we're happy you could join us. Mecca's not joining us, is she?
I sent her the link, but I think she's out. So, yeah, we may have some people pop in eventually, but for now, it's just going to be us three. But that's all right, because that way we keep it concentrated. Mr. Burnett only has a little bit longer for his show. Sorry if you don't like being called Mr. Burnett.
Oh, no, I'm not going to do my show today. I have to go. I'm doing some work for the Schmodown, the movie trivia Schmodown, playing my character, the captain.
There you go. So you know what he's up to.
Yeah.
We only got a little time with the man, so we got to rush through this real quick. Rob, real quick, why don't I'll call you Rob and you Robert, so we keep everything straight. Robert Burnett and Rob.
Okay.
Well, Rob, give us a breakdown of what you learned from the panel, because I didn't get a chance to watch it all. I don't think Robert Burnett got to watch it all. Did you, sir?
No, I just watched the trailers.
Okay. So yeah, we'll get a quick run, because there wasn't anything real mind-blowing out of the panel, was there, Rob? Because I did see the part where he said he's saving some for an interview.
Yeah, he said he's I think he has an interview with the New Yorker or New York Times later. Really nothing. It was just pretty much everything we already knew with the panels. The one thing that they did say at the end, Alex Kurtzman said that the basis, he was asked a question about the rescue fleet, the Armada, the dissolution of the Romulan Empire, and Alex Kurtzman did say that the Picard series does indeed tie back to the 2009 movie. So it's out in, I know we've been saying this for a year or so, but we finally got an admission. That's the thing. And that he said that this is an immigration allegory. It ties back to immigration. But, other than that, it's all stuff we've heard before, and nothing really mind-blowing. The trailer looked confusing more than anything.
All right, so let's talk about that then.
Yes.
Robert, since you're our guest, what was your reaction to this trailer?
Well, to be honest, I liked it. I thought it was pretty intriguing. This is the thing to me. Obviously I worked on Next Generation, the Blu-rays, and made documentaries for 3 years. So I was completely steeped in the making of Next Generation, talking with everyone at length from Rick Berman on down. And the first thing that did strike me about the trailer is it's beautiful. The design of it definitely has a feature film quality to it. But and there's a lot of stuff that happens. And of course, they do tease us with we do see Riker and Troy again, and that was always nice. Apparently, because Marina and Jonathan will always come back, as evidenced by the last episode of Enterprise. So I was intrigued by it all, and I realized as I was watching the trailer, I don't think I've ever wanted something to be as good in a long time. I mean, they have me. Picard is I am theirs to lose. I want this show to be so good. And, I watched the Popcast video. It's a really interesting video where they go through this theory about, and we talked about this too, how Daj, whatever her name is Picard's daughter, but they have this very elaborate theory that ties back to Nemesis and Yesterday's Enterprise and First Contact. And I'm like, well, that sounds cool, but I'm like, the only person that could have ever come up with that is Voyager novelist Kirsten Beyer, who's one of the writing staff of Picard. And from what I understand, after Brian Fuller's initial idea for what they would do with the show, it seems to me like she's the only person on that writing staff that would come up with anything that the Popcast video documents. So that, that has me excited. And I just wanted to see, I want to see it be good. But it also seems to me like it's really overstuffed. Like on one hand, I'm a canonista. I like Star Trek canon, but it seems like it's referring to so many different things. It's almost like it's the ultimate fan service show. And that can be bad too. There's just too much stuff going on. And I think the best kind of fan service is when it's done sparingly and you concentrate instead on a single story that you're telling. You don't have to. I remember when I first moved to LA, I wrote a treatment that I actually submitted to Next Generation in the second season that was just too overstuffed with references to the first season. And it was rejected. But that's kind of the feel I get from this. It looks to me like it's so steeped in Star Trek mythology that it might sink under its own weight. But again, I was intrigued by it, just like I was intrigued by that first trailer. But again, ultimately, it comes back down to Alex Kurtzman and Akiva Goldsman, and I have no faith in them as writers for Star Trek.
No faith of the heart.
No faith of the heart.
Yeah,
but I want the show to be good. I mean, it gives me no pleasure to watch Star Trek and not like it. I don't like that. It really bums me out. And to see this, although Patrick Stewart does seem really old. He just, even his voice, and we'll see what happens.
Well, he looked a lot better on stage.
I don't know. In that scene with him and Riker, I was like, is this on Golden Picard or what?
Right. Yeah, it was they're really leaning heavily into this being their golden years. And after seeing Admiral McCoy, of course, in the opening episode of TNG, Encounter at Farpoint, he's deep into his hundreds. And the idea that in this show, Picard's he has to be, because the timing, about 90. They really need to lean into this age thing. It just seems, I don't know. We'll see. Again, we'll have to see how it goes.
I still use the that quote from McCoy. Now, you treat her like a lady, and she'll always take you home. Every once in a while. Yeah, that's a great quote, actually. But yeah, you're right. I mean, it's almost like a Carlinism, like a George Carlin. There's just way too much stuff in this trailer.
Right.
I mean, and we get. I hate saying this. We get some of the more standard sci-fi cliches. Vasquez rocks. The whole this is not your Starfleet anymore. I don't know if that's a direct dig at the fans or of the original series or Next Generation, but they're throwing everything at you, including you throw everything but the kitchen sink. They're throwing the kitchen sink at us.
Right.
I get the feeling. And in the hope that something sticks, that you're going to like something in this. Almost like a chef that throws everything into a goulash. I'm like, oh, well, this has something in it for everybody. And eventually the end result, I'm not very that confident about the end result. But the one thing I got from this is that, like I said, I want, like you, I want to like this. I desperately want to like this. And when I saw Jonathan Frakes, that should have given me that chill. You sent up my spine, oh my God, Riker's back. Like, no, nothing.
But he's cooking. Nothing. He's in a kitchen cooking. And I'm like, it was the same thing. I had the same problem with Generations when, you see Kirk for the first time and, he's cooking or making eggs or whatever. And I'm just like, is that, to introduce these iconic characters and to humanize them is fine. But is that really what we want out of these movies? Well,
Riker was always portrayed as like a rugged outdoorsman. They always said, I'm from Alaska, from Alaska. And, having him outside maybe chopping wood would have been better or something. Even though he's getting older, he's still able to do a lot of the physicality.
And they have kids. We know he's got kids. I mean, he's the family man. So, okay.
Yeah. But I don't know what it is about a lot of writers. They want to show characters like this, these larger than life characters performing mundane tasks. To me, it just never really struck me as being particularly humanizing.
It makes them relatable, Rob.
Well,
right.
But our first super chat, thank you, Captain Hare, who always comes through with a super chat. Gosh, he always does. I swear, he's like our sponsor almost, especially on After Dark. He says, haven't seen the trailers yet. Can you give me a time stamp for when Tony Stark comes in and fights the TARDIS before it blows up Alderaan? And I said it was at 2:34. But yeah, that goes with the whole thing like you guys are saying. They're like throwing everything they can at the screen without, except for the kitchen sink. But there was one thing I did hear in the panel that did kind of make me happy.
Which was?
And that was where they had mentioned, I believe it was Shaban who said this, so of course it was, who said basically like they wanted to make sure that when they were they wanted to bring back legacy characters, but they wanted to feel organic. Oh no, wait, it was what's her face who said this?
Kristen Bauer.
Kristen Bauer
is the only person who I care about, and the fact she's been marginalized on Discovery, and the fact that I guess I just saw just this moment David Mack, who's one of my favorite Star Trek novelists, tweeted a picture of her on the floor at New York Comic Con and called her a co-creator of Picard. Now, we have not seen any credits yet, official credits, so it's interesting that he credited her as the co-creator. And if that is the case, my estimation of this show has just risen.
Your estimate, you're more excited.
I'm more excited. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like I said, I'm not familiar with Kristen Bauer's output, but you speak very highly of her.
She wrote a lot of. Well, she basically took over the Voyager franchise with Star Trek novels and did a tremendous job. She did a terrific job, and that's why a lot of this stuff looks all the Borg connections. It looks like something that she would do.
One of the things I noticed, like I said, all the Borg connections, and I did see that Popcast video, and to me, it almost seems like a no-brainer that this girl Daj, or whomever her name is, would be Picard's daughter, because that would just it fits into the whole Alex Kurtzman MO of tying it back to the original canon to legitimize it. But same thing with making Michael Burnham Spock's adopted half sister or whatever.
Right.
That is a way for you to instantly have a connection with the original canon, with the original series, or with TNG, or what have you. With I don't want to call it lazy, but it's like selling a used car without the engine. Like, yeah, okay, it looks nice on the inside, but when you go to turn the key, it doesn't do anything.
Right.
At least that's the way I think of it. I mean, there's no juice there to get me something. Yeah, okay, you got the superficial thing down, but you gotta produce the goods.
Well, I also think too that it also, with the Popcast video and everything that they're saying, it really it burdens the show too. I mean, out of the gate, you have a lot of you just have a lot going on, where I think that it would be. I was really looking forward to a show. What does a guy like Jean-Luc Picard do later in life? And this show starts. It seems to be it's going heavily into the Borg, which we've already seen. I mean, because they think, oh, that's what can we do? And I get that. I mean, I understand the desire to do that, but it immediately burdens the show as well. Like you're now stuck into making it a certain kind of thing. But I guess he called it an immigration allegory. That's interesting. I mean, I like to hear somebody say that, oh, it's actually about something. So that's good. But how is that all going to work? I don't know. I guess we'll have to wait and see. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens.
Yeah. And definitely looks like there have people like, there's actually one image I saw in the trailer with, I don't know if they were aliens. I don't know if they were reformed, reclaimed Borg, but they had their heads shaved and they had numbers tattooed into their forehead.
Right.
So obviously these are people in some kind of camp.
Yeah.
So,
and there's people lending some credence to my theory that the girl is Picard's daughter and the Borg's daughter, the Queen of the Borg or whatever.
Yeah.
And our friends at the Popcast also had done a very thorough video on this just recently, and I know Robert brought it up before the show. After this trailer, do we feel like that's even more of a possibility?
Yes, I feel. So.
Yeah, I do too. But again, I mean, it's interesting to me that what I liked about the Popcast video is how deeply it went into Star Trek lore. I mean, it felt like I was reading a Star Trek novel. I'm like, that could have been a Star Trek novel, like a Reeve Stevens Star Trek novel. They tie all of these things together, and I think that's really, I like that. But again, ultimately, it's, well, okay, so are the Borg now a problem again? And it's, I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It's kind of like, I feel like I don't like seeing these tropes used over and over and over and over again. You know, it gets a little bit boring. I was kind of hoping to see a little bit more originality happening rather than we go back to and lean into the Borg yet again. I mean, Voyager did so much of that, but if it's done well.
Yeah.
Well, my reaction to the trailer, Rob, before you jump into your next thought, I like the first trailer better. This trailer felt like half of it was, like I said, old man Picard on Golden Picard, whatever you want to call it, because they're sitting there and it's like, this doesn't even, I don't know, this feels weird. And then the rest of the trailer, I'm waiting for Lenny Kravitz Fly Away to kick in or something, or whoever it was that sang that song.
Lenny Kravitz, yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Because it was just like, I'm watching a Star Trek JJ trailer, is what it felt like the rest of the trailer. So it was like two different trailers in one. It felt like to me. I was just like, what is this? Well, because like I had both your reactions. I had Robert's reaction where I want to like this. There's certain aspects of this that I find interesting, but I also not sure about the whole, tone of it with the, old man Picard and I'm not even being jokingly with our little, because of the character we do on Midnight's Edge After Dark. But no, seriously, like the old man Picard sitting there with Riker, it just felt weird. And it did. When you said it felt like the scene with Shatner in Generations, I'm like, yes, that's exactly the way I felt too. That's what it is.
And that's not good.
No, there's something off about that.
Yeah.
Like when Shatner's sitting there going, would you like some eggs? I make them every morning, blah, blah. It's like, no, this something's, yeah.
Well, that's kind of Alex Kurtzman's MO, is the repurposed stuff you've already seen.
Right.
Yeah. And actually, the other trailer for Star Trek Discovery Season 3 starts very much in the same way, with Michael Burnham in the time space suit or wherever she is in a pile of sand.
We'll
I'm like,
get to that, yeah.
Well, but anyway, the point I'm trying, I'm like, wait a minute, he ripped that off from Iron Man. He ripped it off in the first Iron Man movie. But at the same time, another thing I noticed, Jerry Ryan is a lot more visible in this trailer too. Jerry Ryan's going John Wick on people with wielding the dual phasers or whatever it is.
See, and I don't know her character so much because it's one of the shows I haven't watched through and through, and I've never lied about that. I've always been upfront about that. Everybody keeps telling me, though, that's nothing like her character really was.
No, it's not. Her character was very stoic, still very, I don't want to say robotic, but she's a recovering Borg.
I was just going to say, she's a recovering Borg. Yeah. I know that much. I mean, what about Robert? What was your reaction to her in the trailer?
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact that they bring her in at all, again, Kirsten Beyer being the Voyager author that she is, makes sense to me that she's doing all that, and to make her, an ass kicker. I mean, somebody's got to kick ass. It's not like Picard's going to be doing the fisticuffs, although we did see him fencing. He was fighting with a sword at one point. Again, I don't know. It all really depends how all of this is done. And I'm hoping, my hope is that Michael Chabon is Chabon. I never know how to pronounce his name correctly. I hope that his influence, because I love his writing. I'm a huge fan of both his fiction and his nonfiction. I always want to get what I call real writers involved in Star Trek. I think Star Trek has been at its best, especially all the way back to the original series, when you had people like, whether it was Harlan Ellison or Theodore Sturgeon or Norman Spinrad writing episodes for Star Trek. They were the best. And I'm hoping that his influence on the show, and I've heard he's basically the de facto showrunner, obviously, and he has been from the very beginning. And I'm hoping that this show, that there's a lot of that. I mean, science fiction is a very literary genre. It comes from literature, and when we move too far away from literary concepts, I think science fiction suffers. And certainly Discovery did. Part of the reason I thought Discovery was just interminably bad was it was almost as if that no one had ever read a science fiction novel or had talked about speculative fiction at all, and they were ripping everything off from movies. Except, of course, somebody must have read David Mack's Section 31 novel Control, because it was totally shamelessly ripped off from that. But I'm hoping it's a literary series. I want it to be, more than anything, I want this show to be smart. You can put all the fan service you want in it, but if it's smart, I'll watch it. If it's not, if it's as dopey and brain dead as Discovery has been, that will be a real shame. But I'm hoping it won't be that way.
Yeah. Pretty much. I can't argue with any of those points. I'm just not hopeful that after the the old saying, third time is the charm. This is the second go around. They've had two previous series of seasons of Discovery, and now you have a season of Picard. I have no confidence that this group of showrunners or this group of creatives, quote unquote, are eventually going to get it right. There's that old saying, you chain 1,000 monkeys to a typewriter, and eventually they'll write Shakespeare. I don't believe that. I really don't believe that.
Well, for everybody who likes to give us shit, let's face it, the whole situation with Walter Mosley led more credence to even more of the stuff we've heard before about the chaos behind the scenes from, Nick Meyer and a few other people we've heard. So it's like, obviously, who would want to work on these shows? It sounds like it's chaos, but nothing but chaos behind the scenes. And I'm sure if you're somebody who does actually know anything about Star Trek, you're probably generally told to shut the hell up and just toe the line.
Well, if you know anything about Star Trek, you won't go near with a 10-foot pole. I mean, that's the other thing too.
Because I don't know how many times I heard talking to inside people in the last few months to where it's like, if you're a fan of Star Trek, the last thing you want to do is tell them you're a fan if you want to work on Star Trek.
Yeah, Rob says that. You say that all the time, Rob.
Yeah, I mean, that was true back in the Berman days too. They don't, for whatever reason, there is like Ron Moore, when he was first hired, did not go into the fact that he was a fan of the original show, because I get it. They want to have their own. Look, everybody in Hollywood who works on things wants to make it their own. They don't want to live in the shadow of someone else's legacy. And to work on Star Trek is by definition to work in the shadow of someone else's legacy. And I think what's interesting, I mean, I've never made it big enough in my career where I could work on a show like Star Trek Discovery. I've never been allowed. I don't have the credibility to work on a show like that. And I think for me, knowing people that I know, a lot of TV writers, and TV writers always want to create their own things. And there is some incredible genre programming that's on television now, whether you're talking about The Boys or Carnival Row, or we got the new season of The Expanse. That trailer just dropped, and that looks pretty damn spectacular. They want this show to be theirs. And I think and there's so much money involved in these shows. I mean, God only knows. There's one thing I looked at Picard, the trailer, and I thought to myself, how much money are they spending on this show? Do they even have any kind of a budget cap? Because it just looks extraordinarily expensive. And it's almost as if that they have this blank check. And if you had that, I certainly would want to work on that show, because people are getting paid.
Well, yeah, it's a very lovely looking mess unless it's very good. That's the only thing. And money doesn't make a good movie or show. You know that most of all, Robert. So, like, yeah, I mean, they can have all the money in the world and it's still not going to fix a bad script.
Right. That's right. Absolutely. And it's interesting to see. I mean, look, again, I was intrigued. I was intrigued by what I saw, at least although there's just not, it just seems like the storyline. You know what? it's hard to say. It's hard to say because I don't want to judge something without seeing it. I mean, it is, after all, just a trailer. But I didn't see much that made me there wasn't a lot of meat there. It was a lot of fan service, but they didn't tell me, what is this about? I get that. Oh, there's all these connections to. There's this mysterious girl. We know it's all about the Borg, and that doesn't really excite me because ever since Best of Both Worlds, the Borg in my mind has always gone downhill. They've completely demystified the Borg. They turned them into something they should never have turned them into, which is human. The Borg are just one step away from being, oh, we have to liberate these people. And if that's the case, then they're no longer fearsome adversaries. It was worse when they were a swarm of beings that had nobody. There was no central hub. There was nobody you talked to. They were like a force of nature.
Yeah, they were more like the living dead before, kind of thing.
A swarm, and yet there was this central, whatever the intelligence was, or not central intelligence. And once they gave the Borg a queen, well, then they're just like any other villains. I thought it was better of to me, the Borg have always been most interesting when it's technology that's run amok. It's technology that, like a zombie plague, it ran away. It got way outside of what it was supposed to be, and there's nothing you can do about it. And that's why the Borg were so dangerous. Yeah, and all they've done is defanged them ever since Q-Who. Even the Best of Both Worlds, ever since Best of Both Worlds Part 2. I guess they had to get Captain Picard back, but once you can get a human being back from being assimilated, and you can get anybody back from being assimilated, well, then the Borg are no longer the formidable threat Q showed us in Q-Who when they first showed up in the second season of TNG. Yeah, because there was no way to beat them.
Yeah, it just seems like you said, you don't know what the show is about. I don't know if you. You've worked in Hollywood. I don't know if you've ever done improv. I used to be in an improv group. There used to be that game we used to say called one word story, where I would start with a word and we all go around. And the worst thing you could do in that is use the word and. Right. And that's to me what the whole story writing process, even with Discovery and with this, looks like. This happens, and this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. I'm like, it just seems like, again, they're just throwing all these elements into a pot and hoping they work together. I can tell you parts of what's happening, but I can't. There doesn't seem to be any real cohesive thread throughout anything.
Well, we won't know until we actually see the show. That's one thing that Robert said. That so there really isn't much more we can say about Picard until then, or at least until we see that interview read that interview with Patrick Stewart, where he's supposed to give away some juicy tidbits.
I mean, ultimately, I will say this: I am looking forward to watching the show. Mm-hmm. It's made me actually have something that's Star Trek related that I am looking forward to seeing, and for that alone, at least for the time being, until January. Mm-hmm. I like the fact that there's something coming out Star Trek wise. Well, aside from the Star Trek the motion picture novelization that Gene Roddenberry wrote, the 40th anniversary one that I just ordered from Amazon, I'm looking forward to it, and that alone,
Did you get to see the 40th anniversary release in theaters?
I did go see. My girlfriend and I went and saw Star Trek the motion picture again, and I loved seeing it back on the big screen.
Yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see that. Actually,
and I was hoping it would be the director's cut too. Damn it! But
that doesn't exist in HD, unfortunately.
I know we've talked about that before, and I know I talked to our good friend Bill Hunt, and more so your friend, but and he said at one point they were thinking about upgrading it, but I don't know what happened between then and.
Well, they're trying. I mean, I know some people involved with the process, and they are trying. They're just
okay. I'm glad to hear it's not dead then, because I thought it was once they announced this situation. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, because this is typical Paramount. They'll go and they'll ask, and because Bill has told me the story a few times where they had him and quite a few other people. I don't even know if you might have been one of them involved at that time, or if that was already during the Axonar business or not. But he said that they had talked about all these things for the 50th anniversary, and they didn't do any of it. Mm-hmm. Except for the re-release of the director's cut of Wrath of Khan was all we got out of it, basically.
Yeah. Well, they don't have any money. Unfortunately, there's no money. The Paramount's a studio that's doesn't have the cash that it needs, and there's also really nobody there anymore. I mean, John Van Citters does, but the studio, Paramount itself, they've got to have somebody to pay for it. They've got to have somebody who knows what to do.
Well, that that was kind of the hope with remerging with CBS. I mean, to get them a more solid footing, from what I know, what we've covered. Yeah, but
we got a quick super chat here though. Adam Wolford, $10.
Thank you, Adam Wolford. Yes, the Borg should have been more like Lovecraft type of force or presence. It can be defeated, but with a large loss of people and ships, but something to be feared, always to be unknown. Yeah, originally they were.
Right. Like I said, like the Living Dead. Yeah. Like, and then we got another $1.99 super chat. Whoops. Wrong one here.
Is Michael Burnham going to be the next Dax? No.
Oh, well, that's a perfect segue into the next part.
Well, before we move on to the next part, there is one thing I did notice, actually. The original Romulan bird of prey from 1966's Balance of Terror is actually in the Picard trailer.
Wasn't the original
design.
Well, didn't they show the original Enterprise 2 from Next Generation in that trailer as well?
They did. They show it was in a hologram form.
So now we are getting the merge. Yeah, it's weird.
Well, also what I really disliked about that is there's been so many cool Romulan ships since then that to see that kind of a bird of prey really annoyed me, to be honest. It's like, okay, that to me is, again, let's do that fan service, unless there's a reason. But those ships are basically 150 years old.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, why don't let's see a D'Deridex Warbird like we saw at the first season of, that was one of the coolest designs ever that was introduced in the Neutral Zone, the last episode of the first season of TNG. And that the Warbird stayed through Deep Space Nine. It's such a great design. And look, it's cool that they brought back an original the Romulan, bird of prey from Balance of Terror, but I look at that and I'm like, again, you're trying to appeal to me without earning it. Just showing that ship makes me go, why would you use that ship? But maybe they have a good reason. I don't know.
I'm guessing it was somebody stole it. That's what I'm guessing.
Right.
Maybe those lawless teens from that animated series. Who knows?
Cardinal Sin sends in $2 and says, actually, a new Lovecraftian influence would be cool.
Yeah, it would be. Okay, so we were moving on.
Before we get straight away into Star Trek Discovery, for those who actually still have CBS All Access, I didn't plan on getting it again until January, like Robert was saying. But I guess there is a short trek that dropped. Whoop-de-doo. I saw a trailer, though, for a short trek that had mock Spock in it. And it made me cringe so bad. I don't know if Robert's seen this, but I think Rob
I did.
Has. They're turning Spock into Sheldon. He's literally Sheldon in this preview. Now, granted, I haven't seen the whole episode, but they're only a couple minutes anyway. It was embarrassing.
Yeah. It's funny. No one since 2009, I don't think anybody really understands what a Vulcan is, and this idea that Vulcans do have emotions. They just control them. It's not like they don't have emotion. And one of the things that I always thought was so great about Leonard Nimoy's portrayal of Spock is there were moments when he did things like he could be bemused by something. He would, whether it was having a conversation with McCoy or something that Kirk did. No one has been able to play a Vulcan like Nimoy could. Never. We've never seen it. We've had other people try, but I thought Zachary Quinto's performance as Spock was one note, or actually two notes. He was either angry or constipated.
I liked what's her face in Enterprise.
Oh, you know what? I did. That's true. I did like
Jolene Blalock.
Yeah, but what was her character name? I'm drawing a blank right now.
T'Pol.
Thank you.
I thought she did a pretty good job. I mean, I really did actually enjoy. But even her, there was more. You know what? I'll grant you that she was good. I did like her. But I just the people they keep recasting Spock, and we have to keep watching these performances. Nimoy was so indelible, and he brought so many different colors to the character of Spock that when you watch anybody else try and play him, it just falls flat. I just think it's such a mistake, again, that they lean into the Spock character and make that character so important, because we watched Nimoy grow through this character from 1966 to the end of, well, we didn't see it, but really the last time we saw him was in Into Darkness. And like, I just it bothers me. I'm like, that's just not Spock. As good as these actors can be.
That's why we call him Mock Spock or Spork or
yeah.
I know we have mean little names for him, but it's true. It's not the actor's fault either. No. It's the bad writing. It's the choices made around the character. They're turning him into Sheldon. They're misinterpreting the character. You're right, and people are bringing up Tuvok. So yeah, there is at least a few different. And I would say Spock's dad's always been a good.
I always liked it. But I thought Tuvok was too. Again, I like Tim Russ, but I thought his performance was a little too one note. And it in a way, but he did get to stretch a lot. He got to do a lot of things as an actor on the show. So yeah.
I like Tim Russ. Tuvok did have his moments. I do like, but like I said, nobody seems to know really what a Vulcan is. I mean, they have more intense emotions oftentimes than humans. Just as you said, they put a lid on it through logic. They find serenity in logic. That's not to say that they don't have emotions. Even if they go through the Kolinar, they can still have, where they reject emotions. That's just, they are so disciplined that they don't let it get the better of them. That's the thing.
And that was supposed to be the inner conflict with Spock, and that's the reason why he's supposed to be seen as different. And it's more of an allegory on especially at the time where like mixed marriages, when they would have children, how the children would be treated and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, anyway, do we want to?
But no, let's talk about Star Trek Discovery. Then we also get a full-fledged trailer for season 3, and god dang it, I was going to be nice to season 3 because I was going to be like, we finally got a place where the show should be way in the future, where it has nothing to affect, and they can do whatever the hell they want with their fancy tardigrade ship that goes from one place to another. And what do? They have to retroactively mess with Starfleet, and it still has to be Mikey Spock is the bestest ever. Praise Mikey Spock.
Help us, Michael Burnham. You're our only hope.
Yeah. I guess it's because, I don't know if you guys know, but before J.J. Abrams was announced taking over Star Trek Discovery, Chris McQuarrie, Bryan Singer, myself, and Jeff Thorne, who wrote a number of Star Trek novels, came up with an idea called Star Trek Federation. And I had proposed initially that it would be set 1,000 years in the future, or around the year 3000. And that the Federation was in decline. The universe was just different than it was now. Things had changed. The Romulans and the Vulcans had reformation. The Klingons also had sort of a renaissance, and they were different kinds of people. And the galaxy was a different place, and the Federation was no longer the power it was. And it's interesting watching what they were doing. I'm like, some of this seems very familiar to me. Because you can get that, and I'm not saying our thing was the greatest thing in the world, but it was you can get our proposal. It's out there in the ether. It's not like it was something that hasn't been reported on. But it looks to me like, once again, you're going into a Mad Max future where everything's gone to hell, but now the Discovery is going to bring back hope. And
it just seems like that's the easiest kind of story to tell, sort of a dystopian. Not saying that what you proposed was easy, but seems like,
I know what you mean.
Yeah, the dystopian future. There's chaos. Everything is everybody's starving. The whole world's turned to shit. It's a very young adult kind of trope. Like young adults, like the Hunger Games or the Maze Runner or whatever. I thought I just swore we saw the last of that. But no, apparently not. I mean, and Michael Burnham, again, is the center of everything. And I always enjoyed the ensemble casts of The Next Generation and Voyager. And even though you had the big three on the original series, you go up, you have a episode that focused on Sulu, a B story on Sulu or whatever. Or on, there'd be a B plot with Scotty, and I don't want Michael Burnham is not an interesting character. I'm sorry. You keep trying to sell me on Michael Burnham. I don't like her. And the more you tell me I'm supposed to like her, the more I'm saying she sucks. Stop. I don't want to see
Yeah, it's
anymore.
like when somebody's pushing something on you and you don't like it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like when you're sitting there at a restaurant and you're like, here, try this. You try to bite. He's like, yeah, okay, I tried it. No, I don't like it. No, you didn't really try it. Try a bigger bite. You didn't get a taste of it. Like, no, I know. I don't like it. Don't quit trying to force it on me, you know?
I'm a beer drinker, and no matter how many times people tell me Yingling beer is good, I don't like Yingling beer. I'm sorry. Stop pushing it on me.
Well, you know, it's interesting you guys say that because the premise of the show, I like this idea of looking at a character who wasn't necessarily the captain of the ship.
Oh, yeah.
But I had no problems with that, but they had to make her the best.
Yeah, they've never done that before. They've never made her the what is the life of a subordinate to the captain like, but instead they turned her into the most important character in apparently the universe. Mm-hmm. So we never even got to look at what her life is as a second in command or anything like that. It doesn't matter who's in command of the ship because Michael Burnham is the most important person ever.
And they keep adding powers. They keep adding abilities to her. And I keep coming back to an episode of Futurama where Fry had a comic book called Delivery Boy. And during the plot, he would just add abilities so that any challenge he would be able to overcome easily. And that is not good storytelling. That is boring. Those stupid glass. Forget the fact that they took glass pods into the middle of an asteroid field with millions upon millions of tiny particulates that would just smash the pod, the glass. Can you fly with? Oh, she was the best test pilot at the academy. I'm like, since when? When? You made no reference about this till now. You know, she's a xenolinguologist or she's an award-winning chef. I mean, come on. I mean,
the best example of this,
my head hurts,
is when she's on that scene on I can't remember the name of the planet, but she's there and she's explaining to all these different races how they should be acting and how they're telling them how to act better than they should know how. And it's like, you're a fucking human. How would you know how these people are supposed to be acting? You know, because they're a different race than you. You shouldn't be sitting there telling, you know, she was Michael Burnham splaining. Human splaining. Wasn't that what we came up with, Rob?
Well, human splaining. Human splaining.
Well, you know, it's a Homo sapiens only club.
Yeah. Well, we did get a good glimpse of the Andorians in this trailer. So,
and then we do get an interesting character in, what the hell's his name? The fish guy.
Oh, Saru.
And then they went and ruined his character. Same thing with Tilly. She was interesting, and then they found out we liked her, so then they made her annoying. You know, it's like, what the hell, guys? I mean, I don't understand what they're doing, and it's almost like they know we hate Michael Burnham, so like you said, Rob, they're just trying to force feed her to us.
Well, but the other thing too is that another thing that hurts this is that they keep saying this is serialized, and very little of it is serialized. This feels actually fairly episodic, but they keep trying to tie it back.
Well, you have to have it planned, and we know they didn't.
No.
And as much as Jason Isaacs want to keep walking it back, we were there in the room. We heard him say it. They had no clue where they were going with this.
Robert, did you hear about? You heard about what about us? What we said about that, right? When we were at Star Trek last week. Okay.
Oh yeah. So it started a big hullabaloo.
Oh yeah. He denied it and then he walked it back. No.
He blocked us over it.
We were in the freaking room.
Mecca has recordings, okay, and everybody's trying to say they're out of context. It's like, what's out of context about that? He says flat out they had no idea what they were doing with his character. In other words, they had no idea where this season was going, what this whole thing was going to happen here with this whole mirror universe, or any of this was going. I don't even know if they knew he was going to be the villain yet.
Yeah.
But don't get me wrong. Jason Isaacs seems like an okay guy. Okay, you know what?
No, it's nothing personal on him.
It's nothing personal against him.
He outed them. They probably yelled at him.
Yeah. Michelle Paradise was there in the first couple rows, and I could imagine that after he said it, because she darted backstage. She literally ran as fast as she could backstage after the panel, and I don't know what happened back there, but I could imagine that. Hey, Jason, you know what? You probably shouldn't have said that. So, all right, man, all right, you know. But I could imagine that's the kind of thing that happens at the end of these panels, that you and she was there as sort of the official CBS representative. But again, this is another series that's suffering from no direction.
Right.
They don't know what they're doing, and they've gotten to the point where they're throwing everything against the wall. Well, now let's try this and hope it works. Well, as Gary over Nerdrotic says, hope is not a strategy.
Ram's World sends us a $5 super chat and says, "Wait, wasn't that the plot of Andromeda?"
Yes, it was.
Well, I said this from the start. This show should have started out this way. It should have started like, post Generations, whatever, a bit down the road, Nemesis, whatever. And there's this experimental ship. They go for their first experimental spin, and they end up 1,000 years into the future. That's where this show should have started to begin with.
Or even better, that my brother and I, not the one I complain about all the time, my other brother, I have 4 of them. So he's a big Star Trek fan also. We had this idea of a post-Nemesis series, which centered on a group of sort of troubleshooters, and Picard was an older Picard, but he was sort of an ambassador. He was the head of this group. And every episode there would be something different, a border dispute, a plague, or whatever. But it would still be episodic, but it would be set post-Nemesis. I'm like, why can't we even get something like that? I mean, the Federation still has a presence, but to make everything a dystopian nightmare is boring. I don't need to see more brown, black, and gray. I need to see something colorful, something positive.
Right. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's very interesting. That's what I really want to know. Is anyone capable of making an aspirational Star Trek show anymore? Even if you watch Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, and even though you have the conflict with Khan, I mean, the characters are still coming to grips with their lives, and they're still friends. And at the end of the movie, Kirk says there was always possibilities. And I look at these shows and I'm like, why has Star Trek become what it isn't, which is this, how come it has to be dark? Why
the Orville already proved you can do it.
Well, even Star Trek's proved that you can do it. Like I've always told people that, Star Trek never really had bad guys. It did not have villains. It had antagonists. And even the Klingons at the end of Errand of Mercy, the first episode that introduces the Klingons, at the end, Kor and Kirk are annoyed that the Organians have stopped this war. And even Kor can look over at Kirk and smile. He's like, well, it's too bad, but it would have been glorious. And you can see these two guys, they have mutual respect for one another. The Klingons are not just, even though they look like mustache twirling villains, they weren't.
No.
And it seems to me that they have forgotten how to tell interesting science fiction allegorical shows without making everything dark. I mean, Section 31 is evil, and there's evil AIs, and everything's out to get you, and the universe is coming to an end, except Michael Burnham's mother is just as important as she is. And
even the tardigrade's evil. Actually, you're right.
I mean, everything is bad. And I look at this and I'm like, why is it like this? And I think that tonally, the shows, the Picard show tonally should have some kind of joy in it. I guess that's what I was. The only joy was Jean-Luc and Riker hanging out by the pond. And why is it that they would be there? Like, why does everybody, when they get older, move back home to the range in the Star Trek universe? Why wouldn't you be living somewhere else that is something cool and modern?
Yeah.
Why would you be going? Who wants to necessarily go back to the woods?
Well, there's that trope, you want a simpler life. That's the trope. Oh yeah, he's retired to a simple life.
But what's the version of a simple life in the 24th century? I mean, I would think that the
dogs and wine, evidently.
I guess so. And I'm like, I would rather, it's like in Star Trek 09, Kirk's riding a motorcycle. Well, okay, if you want to do a rebel without a cause, he's a biker now. What's the 23rd century equivalent of that? Like Kirk's, as a young boy, steals a classic car. Well, that's not cool. What's cool is if you're a kid stealing something, what would you steal in the 23rd century? The character of Kirk would not steal a 300-year-old car and drive it off a cliff. That's the antithesis of the character of Kirk.
He would probably think that's not in character at all.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, to destroy a priceless 300-year-old antique, Kirk would have loved that car. It would have been the one thing that he might have hated his stepfather, but he certainly wouldn't have wrecked that car.
No.
And that to me is like, that was such lame writing, you know,
Well,
and
working on track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? I keep coming back to the whole interview with Frank Zappa when he did before he died, about how back in the 60s when you had people like in the music industry, the old guys with their feet up on the desks, they would see something experimental like a Mothers of Invention or something like that. I don't know what this is. Take a chance on it, see if it sells. But then it sells. All right, let's get a hippie in here. He'll know what to do. And then they get the hippie in there, and the young hip executive is the one that eventually says, no, we can't take a chance on that because it's not what the audience wants, and I know. And who are the hip young executives? The J.J. Abrams and the Alex Kurtzmans of the world. They're the ones that are making these decisions, saying, no, we can't have something optimistic and positive like the original Star Trek because that's not what the audience wants. And I know.
Right. Well, that is absolutely true. And I think that's a big problem with, I mean, now it's the Star Trek universe. Mm-hmm. And whether it's the animated shows, I mean, they're doing a Nickelodeon show because, you know, when I was 5 years old watching Star Trek for the first time and loving it, I loved it because of its adult content. You know, I think the idea of making we have to get the kids in. Well, you know what got the kids in? The original series.
Oh yeah,
that's what it. You know, this idea that you're going to try and appeal. But again, I mean, I don't want to put down Star Trek Discovery. I watch every episode, and I will watch every episode. It's Star Trek. You know, I've had a lifelong love and obsession with Star Trek, and I will keep watching it. But it just makes me angry that the one place that they should be concentrating on, which is the writing, they don't. They've got all the money they need to do everything else. Mm-hmm. But I'd rather watch an episode like Duet, which is a second season or a first season Deep Space Nine episode that's basically a play and set in basically a room, or The Measure of a Man. They're far more satisfying stories than 2 seasons of Discovery.
Drumhead or something like that.
Well, another great episode.
Well, I know you're almost out of time,
yes,
Robert.
Sir.
So, and people are gonna mob me if I don't bring this up and get your feelings on it quick, since we only have a few minutes. What's your take on the latest news that CBS may believe that Axanar is in breach?
Well, you know, they're shooting Axanar this weekend, and here's what happened. They did send a letter. It did say that they were in breach, and it also demanded Alec Peters show all of his finances since 2017. And, you know, according to Alec, he doesn't have to comply or anything. And I think, well, Alec Peters, I'll flat out tell you, he just doesn't tell the truth. And I mean, he repeatedly lied about me all year and dragged me into a lawsuit. I had to fight him off twice. He sued me in Georgia. I've never even done business with him in Georgia. And his lawyers ended up dropping the case when I was able to prove that everything he was saying about me is ridiculous, considering I'm the only person who's ever finished anything that's come out of Axanar. I edited and finished Prelude for him. I did the Blu-ray. I did the Vulcan scene and every other video and podcast for years. So, no, he did receive the letter. I have not actually read it. I haven't read it myself. Let me say that to be clear. But I can also say I know the contents of the letter. And yeah, they did say he was in breach. They didn't say it was not a cease and desist. It was, you are in breach. We expect a full accounting of all your monies by October 15th of this year. That's what the letter said. Mm-hmm. And, you know, Alex, they're shooting Axanar now. And hey, I'm certainly looking forward to seeing what they pull off. Because according to Alec Peters, everything that ever was made from Axanar, he did it all. So we'll see. we'll oh, those dirty floors. Wow.
I seen you comment on that.
I mean, well, first of all, what's really sad, what's really, really sad to me is Dean Newbury, who built that bridge. The bridge they're shooting on isn't finished. There was supposed to be all these practical lights built into the sets. The things that bother me are like where the wedges are joined. That bridge is completely wild, so it can be taken apart and you can shoot from any direction. But where the pieces join, there was supposed to be metal that looks like design flourishes, but it covers the joins. Well, they didn't do that. There's not even the lights that are underneath the view screen, the main view screen that scroll from left to right. They didn't put those in the bridge either. And the way that they're lighting it and all of the panels and it's unfortunate. It's unfortunate because Alec, they don't have anybody. There's no art direction there. It's just sad because there was a lot of people, everybody that worked on Prelude, Christian Gossett and his in team of producers that produced Prelude. They did such a wonderful job. And, Alec got rid of all of those people. And, hey, look, I like it when anybody makes something, when anybody goes out and tries to make something. And obviously I was involved with Axanar from 2014 to 2017, and it was a great project. And what I tried to do, I mean, you can go to my website at theburnettwork.net and you can see all the visual effects that I directed and worked with Tobias Richter on for what was going to be the first half of the Axanar feature film. There's 50 minutes of material that I had created in the development of the Axanar feature that's never going to be made, unfortunately, because we got sued. And a lot of people accuse me of having sour grapes. I don't have sour grapes. I have sour grapes that Alec has treated me the way he has and just outright lied about things like how I didn't do work. I'm like, Alec, we were sued and our lawyers did tell us to stop working. And to think he bought me these 2 drives and I transferred everything because it was all of my work. And I said to him, I go, I have none of this backed up. I need drives. I did all of that. I copied it. I gave all of that to him. It was in his office for months. I even have photographs of it. And then he turns around and claims that I never did any of that. I mean, he knew damn well I did. He just, in his move from California to Atlanta, he must have misplaced or lost the drives. I don't know what happened to them, but a producer has one. You got to protect your footage, and I certainly have all the footage that I've done, that I've made.
Well, I think those dirty floors say a lot.
Well, yeah. I mean, how do you shoot on a set with those kinds of floors?
Because when I saw that and I'm looking at it, I'm just thinking of the Axanar, Prelude to Axanar. I'm like, this is just not even going to be in the same caliber. And I will say this, you and I have had some personal discussions about this, Robert, that I'm not going to get into because, they're personal. But I'll say this about you. I don't feel like you harbor any kind of, anything against Axanar itself. No. I feel everything you're saying, I can back up. Just between ourselves, I can say that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I thought the Axanar project was a great project. That was why I got involved in it. And I think Prelude to Axanar stands as one of the great fan films ever made of any fandom, not just Star Trek, but of any fandom. And everybody that worked on it, everybody's intentions were honorable. And even when I stayed on the show and continued and worked on the Vulcan scene and tried to work on the feature film before we got sued, everything was great. I mean, I really worked hard. The problem is, and I've seen this many, many times in Hollywood, movie making is a collaborative art form. And the people that have longevity and success in the business understand that. And you understand that you have a team of people that you have to work with and coordinate with, and everybody's doing their jobs. A lot of people who get into filmmaking do it, I think, for the wrong reasons. And Alec Peters wants to be the impresario of the Axanar empire. And when other people were doing the work and he felt he was being overshadowed or whatever, he wanted to take it and run it himself. And that was his own mistake. And it was something that he had a great team in place. And the first thing he did after Prelude was over was get rid of that great team. And anybody who has any longevity in the entertainment business knows that the most important thing you have with you is a team of people. that you can rely on. There's a reason why Steven Spielberg has worked with John Williams or worked with his editor, Michael Kahn, for decades. When you find a team of people, you want to keep them together to continue working with them. And that's something Alec Peters is incapable of doing.
Speaking of teams, hello, Mecca. She shows up right at the end.
Sorry.
It's all right.
My day, I've been trying to do like life stuff today before.
Well, this was very impromptu, and
Yeah.
it was more or less Robert only had so much of a window, which he does have to go.
I pass off the torch to Mecca.
But before you go, real quick, plug your channel so everybody knows where to go.
Well, of course, I do my show Robservations on my channel, The Burnett Work, on YouTube, and you can also go to the adjacent website, theburnettwork.net, and interact. A lot of people send me letters there, and we got the 3-word movie reviews, and there's stuff that I did for Axonar there, and so there's a lot of stuff you can do, and find me there and listen to my shows, and I ramble on. I'm not doing a show today because I'm working on the Schmodown, but I'll be back tomorrow.
And your shows are great, and they're getting bigger every day, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a small, but I love my audience. I call them the post-geek singularity. Everybody,
I love it.
Their imagination, I call them imagination connoisseurs, of which I am, which you guys are, you ladies are, everybody is. We're all imagination connoisseurs. And I think that my message is one of positivity, except when I'm talking about Star Trek Discovery.
It doesn't deserve it, though.
There's nothing I can say that's positive.
You're an honest but positive person. And I think you and I see eye to eye on Joker. So maybe when we have the Joker roundtable, we're gonna have you back, sir.
Yeah, I did do a show on Joker yesterday that a lot of people have listened to. It
spoke right to me, man.
Oh,
I'm like, I was trying to like. There's a lot of things you said that I think you and I have similar issues with this movie. So it's like, I've been trying to correlate my thoughts on it too, but I know you got to go. So,
well, I will jump it. It was great. Rob, you guys, everybody, Mecca, I will see you. Hopefully I see you around again soon. I love doing this. Thanks for having me. And I'll be back later, and you guys have a good rest of the show.
Long overdue, and we hope to have you back real soon.
All right.
Thanks for joining us. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thanks for having
me. Sorry to just barely miss you.
We'll be back again.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Take care, Robert.
I will see you later.
But yeah, before we go, before we wrap this up, since we have Mecca here, why don't we get your takes real quick on the trailers, and then we'll wrap things up.
I'm trying to look at the Discovery one real quick. Well, let's talk about Picard here.
Okay,
just do the Picard one. It's a lot of hey, remember Data? Remember Will?
Oh, that's something we didn't get to talk about with Robert Meyer Burnett was Data. How bad he looks, and we just seen him in person. He does not look that bad in person. What the fuck? Yeah. Why do they make him look so horrible? Go on, Mecca. I'm sorry.
Well, it's because it looks so cinematic, and they're focused again so much on making it look theatrical. That's my biggest issue with the current, the current direction of Star Trek is that they want it to be the next Marvel Cinematic Universe. It feels like, and it's very disappointing. Like that's not what Star Trek needs to be. You're focusing so much on the wrong things again, and with Picard here, it just looks like more of the same crap with, hey, remember all these characters. Oh, you're not going to see them. You're only going to see them for about an episode. It feels cheap to me. It just feels and like it feels like, and I guess I should qualify it by saying not like cheap money wise, but like a cheap lazy way of making Star Trek rather than focusing on the good things, But then again, they can't keep good writers. People like Walter Mosley. You can't keep intelligent people writing the show.
I didn't bring this up. Did you notice that even though they're 930 years in the future, Soneca Martin Green still manages to get her hair done?
Well, see, no, I watched the first 9 seconds here, and I see her. She's got longer hair. And then she's got her regular hair, but then she's back to short Discovery hair. Like, why can't she leave her hair? I guess it wouldn't be regulation.
The kid in play look, yeah, she wants to go for. She's still.
I don't know. I guess.
Is she like stranded by herself for a while? Is that what was going on in the beginning of that trailer? Because I was just like, so.
I don't know. I'm watching it now. I don't know. It looks like Star Trek Discovery. It just looks like more of the same crap.
Here's the trailer, Mecca. We need Michael Burnham to fix the future. The end.
Yeah.
Fuck Michael Burnham. Just seriously, fuck Michael Burnham. I'm tired of the character.
Help us, Michael Burnham.
Can we just have Soneca Martin Green stand there on set and, just tell her life story, do what she did on the panel, do something other than be this character, because this character really doesn't work for me.
No.
Well, Trey Chester's brought this up a few times. What the actual fuck is the TOS Romulan Bird of Prey doing in service? Seriously,
We don't know. Maybe those lawless teens stole it.
damn lawless teens.
You lawless
And then
teens.
they changed the Bird of Prey too. Also, did we find out what the name of Picard's ship is? Did they call it the Harpy or something, like the Harpy, or is it like Serenity?
I don't think they said that anything about
No,
it.
they
Alright.
didn't.
No.
They didn't say. Hold on,
Because I guess the
Picard.
ships don't matter anymore. The tech
They
doesn't
barely
matter.
showed anything with the ship this trailer.
No, because they have to force feed us. Hey, look, it's Riker. Look, it's Riker and Deanna. You like Riker and Deanna, right? You remember them?
And Riker's
I
doing the
remember.
dishes.
Yeah, he's cooking like he did on Enterprise.
All he needed was the trombone.
Oh, look at this!
Nightbird.
It's one of the members of the podcast. It's Brian. How you doing, Brian?
Brian from the podcast. Hey, how's it going, buddy? Oh, Brian.
Hello. There you are.
Hey, what's up, man?
Not much. You just missed Mr. Burnett, though. Unfortunately,
Oh, Robert.
we
Robert's a
did
good
talk about
dude.
your video earlier, though.
Oh, did you? That's awesome. The Picard one, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Yeah, that one took like 2 weeks to do. Ugh.
You dropped it just in time.
I
Yeah.
know, right? That wasn't even intentional. So
I came up with that theory right after the first trailer. I'm like, this is pretty obvious. She's got to be the daughter of Picard and the Queen. And people gave me shit, but I'm like, no. You got to understand. You got to think like Klutzman does.
Yeah, you got to think like they're trying.
Yeah,
to,
what's the worst thing they
He
can
has
possibly do?
he has to tie it back to something in the
Yeah.
original Star Trek lore, so
Yeah.
that way it legitimizes himself, and so he can point to it. But I tied it back to TNG. I don't
Yeah,
see what
they're-
the problem is. Yeah,
They're trying to farm. They're trying to farm. Old Star Trek, and they need
Yeah.
to do it. Actually, I feel like they need to do that for Picard because STD was so. I'm sorry, Disco was so far away from what Star Trek fans wanted. So the way to get Star Trek fans back on online, or on board, is to just farm ideas from past Star Trek. And as long as you're true to canon, it'll probably work.
they're not even that. Oh.
I mean, if Picard farmed all these ideas from past Star Trek, and they were studying Memory Alpha while writing the scripts, then it'll work.
They went to canon camp. They went to canon camp.
Yeah.
They spent a weekend in a hotel watching the original series. They watched 10 episodes of the original series. Okay, yeah, we think we're good.
Well, what's funny? I was telling Shane, I was like, because Shane, I wrote the original idea, and then Shane actually wrote the script. Right? I'm a horrible writer. Shane's a really good writer. And I was like, dude, you're one guy like in his spare bedroom writing a script for the last 2 weeks, and you came up with something that was very canon friendly. I don't understand how 26 writers at CBS, with a year of time, can't figure out how to tie Disco back to canon correctly. Like there's resources out there. There's
Without jumping it all into the future, even like you have Q at your disposal. You could get John Delancey in a heartbeat,
Oh, I would love that.
and you could just have him snap his fingers and say that's better, or you could have something. You have in canon reasons for this shit, and they don't need to. They don't need to make it so ridiculous. They didn't need to push it in the future. They could have said, yeah, it's an experimental ship with all this technology that we're testing. Something you could have retconned
You're
it.
totally
And they
right,
have
Mecca. They have Q. They have like the ultimate retcon device right there.
The Q and holodecks. They
Let-
have ways around it.
That's true.
Well,
That's very true.
let's go right to the source. Old Man Picard. I mean, does Q make an appearance in this series?
No.
He doesn't.
I don't know because one of my buds on YouTube, I think you guys know him, Ketwalski, did a video about.
We know him.
Oh, okay. He did a video recently about how Q's gloves were on set, and he was theorizing that Q might be in the show. I don't know. I feel like if you add Q and 7-9 and Riker and all these old characters in like the first like 6 episodes of the show, I think you're putting too much. You gotta space out the member berries. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Oh, now, old man Picard. Did you name the dog number 1?
Yes.
You did. Now, are we
Yes.
gonna?
And let me explain why Q isn't in the show. There's only room for one sexy man in the show, and you've seen what number 2 looks like now, so he looks like he ate number 3 and 4.
Tom,
Now-
that Patrick Stewart voice is amazing.
No, it's not.
I'm gonna need you on one of our videos just to do voiceover for me.
Everybody's just waiting for me to die.
No. I think there's one question we all have.
Yes,
Old man Picard, will there be dune buggies?
they wouldn't let me.
Oh, no.
But I get a new spaceship. I don't get to fly it, though.
Do you call the USS Dune buggy?
In my mind.
See, I've been told it's called the Harpy, though.
Yes, there's a rumor going around that the starship in the show is named after Miss Mecca here, and that's what I told him.
Dude, I recently watched Nemesis again. The Dune buggies. Oh man, it's great.
And people keep saying
Dune buggies.
Dune buggies. People keep saying about how Patrick Stewart, he's contributing to the show. I'm like, yeah, but the dune buggies. I'm like the dune buggies.
Well, and what I say to that in his defense, in defense of any of these actors, including people like Shatner, even though Shatner down the road got, more into the stuff, a lot of these actors, they don't watch the show. They don't get into the culture. They don't know the ins and outs. 9 times out of 10, you've heard the saying, the fans know more about the show than I do. Well, that's why. It's like, because we actually pay attention to this stuff. I guarantee most of these actors involved have never rewatched the show again.
Well, they don't get to see the whole thing because when they shoot, they're only shooting their portion of the script, too.
Yeah,
Well, and that's just it. Unless they go out of their way or they have, like, cast screenings or anything like that, then, yeah, the chances are, unless you're a narcissist, you don't, like, watch yourself endlessly in these shows.
Yeah, well...
Yeah, I mean, I only watch my own videos like 6 or 7 times a day. So.
And if you think that people like Patrick Stewart are connected to what the fans see and what he sees, I'm sure it's...
No, people are like, oh, Patrick Stewart will never let them ruin his character. He doesn't care. He's 80. He's looking at his next yacht. He doesn't care that much.
That's right. I like to grab ass and drive dune buggies.
The official Star Trek Twitter feed. Trek is the ultimate beacon of hope. Trek is always the anchor that brings you back to the best, that reminds people of what's possible and what hope means. And that's from Alex Kurtzman on the Legacy of Star Trek Universe. I responded by saying, then why aren't we getting that? And this another tweet says, respond to me, I'm sure they're talking about the Orville.
Oh, God. Oh, my God.
I mean, they're not wrong.
Brian, are you a fan of the Orville?
Oh, yeah. I went to the experience. Hopefully we're doing a set visit pretty soon here.
Nice.
Oh, you lucky duck.
Dude, we've been talking to Tom Constantino, and we're trying to get the set visit so hard. He was like, you're going to have to sign a ton of NDAs. And I said, I'll
sign whatever you want.
Yeah,
I was going to say, I already know somebody who was there, and I don't want to say who because of them.
I'll be there.
Please, just Seth MacFarlane needs sexual favors because I would
whatever you need.
gladly volunteer for that.
Seth needs a reach around, whatever it needs. I'll be there. And we're in their backyard, too, so it should be easy for us to get down to L.A.
Hey, Seth, flights are cheap out of LaGuardia right now to L.A.
There you go.
Well, we should be talking to Tom. That's the problem. None of us have ever really reached out to him, I don't think. So.
Tom's a good dude.
I get scared of talking to,
you should more though, because more people know who you are, Mecca, because you're more the face of the channel. That's why I changed my logo here. It's like,
and the red hair.
Nobody cares what my face looks like.
And nobody nobody knows who I am. Well, people know who I am. I am Lur from Omicron Persei 8. And Seth MacFarlane will invite me to the set of the Orville.
That's true. You had plenty of people recognize you at Star Trek Las Vegas.
Once you talked.
Just message Tom, and he will talk to you back. He's a very good dude.
I'll try. I should.
I know. I just give him I don't like bothering people, and I don't feel like I don't know. I feel like I piss everybody off, so I'd be like, oh, you probably hate me anyway. So I just get scared to message
people. Only hate you on Twitter. Everybody at Star Trek Las Vegas was very nice to you.
Except from,
Mary Chifo.
Mary Chifo.
Brian, do you know?
Yeah.
Brian, do you know about that story?
No, I do not. What happened?
Tell him about that.
Okay, well, we were walking through, and they had that little Tribble display thing, and we overheard at Star Trek Las Vegas, and we overheard the woman at the booth saying she hadn't watched Star Trek Discovery. So we kind of we looked at each other, and I'm like, "Oh, did you hear what she said? She hadn't watched Discovery." Yeah, and Rob's like, "Yeah, don't," or whatever. One of us did, and we were walking away, and right in front of us, like just crossing our path, was this statuesque, beautiful Mary Chifo staring daggers at us because she overheard us, and we didn't know she was there. We didn't know. We felt terrible, until we heard her, with this. "Oh, you guys need to be more diverse because you're horrible and we hate you all," or whatever. "You need to be more inclusive," and I don't know what the crap. So, we felt bad until she, spoke on stage.
Her Ensign Ricky and Ricky from My So-Called Life, and
the
young
Dobby from Harry Potter or whatever the crap he is. I don't know.
Dumbledore, whatever the fuck. I don't know.
How tall is Mary Chifo in real life?
She's got to be at least 6'1" because she towers over me.
Right?
I'm only 5'7".
Yeah, I saw her on a red carpet thing, standing next to Doug Jones, and I was like, "Oh, that looks like a regular, pair of people."
He's tall too,
but he's like 7 feet tall. So
yeah, he's really tall too.
Well, even Patrick Stewart's taller than I thought, and so isn't what's his face who plays Q.
Well, John Delancey is, yeah. Like,
he's
he was
really
someone I
tall.
was really
Holy
nervous
shit.
around because I'm like, oh my god.
But now, like, I was surprised how short and small like LeVar Burton was. He's tiny.
Yeah.
And what's his face, Brent Spiner? He wasn't like small, but he wasn't tall either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Brent Spiner's a regular size. I met John Delancey too at the same STLV, and when I went up to get the ridiculous $75 picture, whatever it was, and
oh yeah, we did too.
he shook my hand. He goes, "Who do I make this out to, or who do I sign this to?" And I'm like, just put the Popcast. And he goes, "The podcast." And I'm like, no, the Popcast. He goes, "The podcast." He just kept correcting my speech. And I realized maybe I picked the wrong name for my channel because this guy kept correcting me when I was asking him what to sign out to.
Yeah.
Well, no,
Rob, what did he sign yours? Just Rob.
Rob, yeah, Rob and
just to Rob. Oh, okay.
Yeah, and then of course, because he's the coolest man alive, Clint Howard.
Oh,
he had to try and come up with something clever for his, so he said, "Keep it edgy." Clint Howard.
I feel like, okay, the one hand I'm like, I really want to like just beg him for pictures and autographs and everything. On the other hand, I'm like, he's nice enough to have lunch with us, so I don't want to bother him because
well, he's already having lunch.
He was fucking amazing.
I know, he's the coolest.
And as always, what started that conversation? What started the whole thing?
Cheap Trick.
Yeah, I wore a Cheap Trick T-shirt, and
that and because I don't know how to get to places on time.
Yeah. Baylock, there he is.
Yeah, people have told me my whole life that because I've been late to everything, it's a bad thing. The first time in my life, it paid off in spades because we got to hang out for how many hours with Clint Howard?
Oh, we were up there all afternoon, man. We were hanging out with him all afternoon.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, it was like 4 hours that whole Saturday, it was that whole Saturday.
Kicking back with Clint Howard.
No, it's Friday because we had the fan meetup that Friday then.
Mm-hmm.
He was awesome.
Kicking back with Clint Howard. That was awesome. Clint Howard's awesome guy. We love Clint Howard.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So, but in a totally appropriate way. Obviously.
Everybody's saying Tranya. He wrote that on my other one. I got 3 autographs from him. 1 for my dad and 2 for me. Well, one of them is me and Rob together, and that's the one he wrote "Keep It Edgy" on with him in a picture. And then on the one that Mecca just showed as him as a kid, he had that still there, and he wrote "Juan and Tranya," and then there you go.
The Tranya. We John Billingsley too. We ran to him in the hall coming off the elevator.
I wanted to hang out with him, but you guys didn't have the balls to say nothing.
Well,
No, he was
didn't-
on his
we did.
way
wrong.
somewhere else. He was on.
Yeah,
his
he's
way
on his
Oh,
way
that
up the elevator
sucks.
with coffee and stuff. So
Yeah,
Was that
but-
that was Dr. Flock,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
Oh, yeah,
I
he was my favorite
loved
on
him in that
Enterprise.
show.
Yeah, he was so good.
He was
He's
one
such
of the
a cool
best
dude,
parts
too.
And I
And
loved
of
the
course-
cheering he got. Sorry, Rob. I love the cheering that he got though when he would called everybody out. He's like, we
Oh.
had, we had
I
the
linked
first
you that.
this and we had first that, and it's like
Somebody
you know,
uploaded that whole doctors panel from Star Trek Las Vegas, and I linked it in the Mead chat for you guys.
Oh, okay, good.
In case you
because
want
they
it,
were
because-
all
yeah.
patting themselves on the back in the Discovery cast, and he's like,
Yeah,
"No, wait a
Ensign Ricky
minute."
comes out, or not Ensign Ricky, Dr. Ricky from Myself Called Life comes out and is like,
Dr.
look how
Ricky.
awesome we are because we have inclusion and diversity now, and we have gay people on the show. Hello, I'm the gay. Look at me, I'm the token gay. And then Dr. Phlox, John Millings is like, well, actually, my character was the first bisexual because I was married to men and women. So, and I'm like, yup.
But
That was the big thing. There's like there's so much
but the
different distance between the older casts and the newer casts because
yeah.
of this whole
Roxanne
inclusive
Dawson,
diversity
too, yeah.
bullshit, because they don't understand that Star Trek was always this way. You don't have to preach, you don't have to trash
Yeah.
half of your fan base or more because of your little it's a trend. It's like it is a trend. It is people half the time these people don't even believe it. They just say it because they don't have anything else to say. Like I was out in the wild with some of these people at the Ghost concert this week, and there was one of these young girls who were like, "Oh, all these white dudes." I'm like, it's just they just do that because they think it's cute because it's a trendy thing to say. It's a buzzword. It's a meme at this point. They don't actually. I don't think a lot of them actually believe that, or if they do, they're actually sad, horrible, pathetic people. But no, I think it's just a meme anymore. And they don't understand how offensive it is or how disgusting and disrespectful it is to the people who came before.
Yeah, Roxanne Dawson especially. She didn't take too kindly to that either.
Well, no, and I
Yeah.
always loved her. Like B'Elanna was one of my favorite characters because of how intelligent Roxanne Dawson portrayed her. She took this very complex character that was representative. This is a character that is literally biracial, half Klingon, half human, going through what what you might go through experiencing having genetic differences and cultural differences between your two sides of your biochemistry. Basically, she took this character that has the violent, aggressive Klingon side and this this human side that also kind of has that, but humans tend to frown upon it. And she was brilliant, and she was an amazing character. And I think Janeway did a great thing by making her the head of engineering to incorporate two crews. Voyager was damn good. Now I want to rewatch Voyager.
Voyager was good, and I like that actress, but I hated the character of B'Elanna Torres.
Mm-hmm.
You know why? It wasn't everything you said is correct, 100%.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like the character because every time she was on screen, it got really dramatic really quickly, and it just as a young guy watching Voyager, I wasn't into the dramatics.
Yeah.
So Brian, did you see you saw the trailer for Discovery, right?
I did. Man, that's a lot of hairstyle changes, right?
It's amazing that she can still find a stylist in the year 3000 or 33
I
or
think
whatever.
maybe
it is.
she's like skipping through time or something. Because
Well, I think she's stranded or whatever because it seems
Well,
like
yeah, 'cause in the very beginning, she comes out of like a dirt, crawling out of something, but she's in that
Like
Red
Iron
Angel
Man?
suit. Yeah, she's in the Red Angel suit. She's got like a kit of crap,
I
and then
thought
she
it was
looks like she's on
interesting.
a shuttle by herself or something.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that they referenced her Star Trek insignia, and they're like, "Oh, it's an interesting badge or whatever." I think that they're so far in the future that the Federation doesn't exist anymore,
Mm-hmm.
which
Or
is
the Federation-
fascinating to me.
Well, yeah, it's a good idea, but they're gonna louse it up.
Yeah,
because
no, yeah.
Michael
Yeah, they
Burnham
probably
she's help us, Michael Burnham. You're our only hope.
See, now we're gonna have two timelines
seem like
too.
the new Star Trek Discovery is save the future, Michael Burnham. Please help us make the Federation great again.
And that's always the problem with the Discovery is it's all about Michael Burnham, and it's a garbage character.
I feel like for the critics alone, they should have just shown one hairstyle because like a lot of people are going to be focusing on.
I'm
the fact
sad
that-
she went back to the short. I really like her with long hair.
Yeah, I actually sort of liked the braid look too. I thought it
Mhm,
looked.
yeah. Oh, I love the
very
braids on
fetching.
her. Yeah.
See, now there's this new character with short hair. Looks like a female engineer with short
That's
hair.
the that's
she's in
the diversity hire. That's the one where they're like, we want a non-binary somebody.
yeah,
blah, blah,
oh,
blah.
yeah.
That's that character.
Okay, all right.
What happened to what's her
Jet
name?
Reno.
Jet Reno.
Oh, who the hell
knows?
cares?
Yeah,
I
but
think
wasn't she on the ship?
Yeah. What wasn't Giorgio off of the ship? Wasn't she off with the Klingons? Why is
Right.
she on the ship with them now?
Yeah, so Jet
Did she
Reno
follow
was
them?
on the ship.
Well, weren't they
and she's
running the
chief
Discovery
engineer.
with a skeleton crew at that point? Because like everybody who didn't want to go to the future, they let leave or whatever. They had that little throwaway line or whatever it was.
They swore everybody to secrecy. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But I hated that retcon. I know why they did it, but it just seemed
was
so
a
lazy
cheap-
to me.
Yeah, it was a cheap cop out. It was anyway. We don't want to drag this on too much longer. But if you do like this kind of conversation, do check us out on Midnight's Edge After Dark. We do these kind of conversations just about every other night of the week. And we have a few other shows that go on. But yeah, it's mainly the cast you see here. And we have people like Brian on the Popcast and other people pop in from time to time.
Thanks.
We need to have you on there. Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately we started a little while ago, but yeah, the ideas are still there. We're still talking about this. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens with Picard. I have very little faith now in Discovery, even though I had very little to begin with, but I was at least, rooting for it in the sense that, like I said before, they can't mess with anything now. They're,
Yeah, everything's new going forward. So
After Dark makes you pregnant. Until I saw this trailer, and I'm like, oh no, they have to retcon the past, and they screwed up Starfleet, and now they have to have Michael Burnham fix it.
but it is still in the future.
It doesn't matter. It still
it
says
can
that
be
we.
bad, but it
It's
can't
still-
really mess with canon anymore.
It still
right?
retroactively has to fuck with something somehow.
Well, and it still started in the past. They didn't fix anything. They didn't fix that. It's still canon in the past, 10
Well,
years
because-
before TOS.
No mecha. No one's allowed to talk about it. So it didn't happen. Okay.
Yeah, one never
But
talks
that's
about nothing.
Stupid. That's fucking
It
stupid.
is stupid.
And
You're
if
right,
they
it's
think that is a good way to run a show and to explain away canon, then they've never watched Star Trek before or television. I mean, Dallas did it better with it was just a dream. Legit,
I hate,
Dallas
I
did
hate
it
the
better.
Just a Dream things, though. I
I
hate
know
the
it's
lost
terrible,
Just a
and it
Dream
would have
thing.
been better.
It
Well,
might
this
have been-
runs off.
Might have
sorry.
been better, you're right?
This runs off the same mentality that all these kind of reboots, rehashes, whatever the hell you want to call them now do. And that is that other stuff has way too much baggage. Let's not worry about that. Let's start afresh with our own new thing, and we'll steal whatever we want from the past. Nobody's going to care. And that's the mentality that JJ went into this Star Trek with. Why? Because he was too goddamn lazy to watch the original shows and get into the canon. He didn't
Yeah.
want to adhere to this stuff.
You're right. The problem with that is if you really want to do something new, maybe just do something new. I get it. You're trying to farm fans of an old franchise by.
But it's counterproductive because you do nothing but piss them off because you
Right.
disrespect the canon. Even though,
Yeah.
let's face it, I'm not sticking up for JJ and those guys. I never would really, and I always say that too much. But they're not noticing that part of it. They don't see it from that perspective. They don't see it as they're trying to destroy the canon, even though that's what we're saying they're doing. They're not deliberately going out there to just piss off the fans.
Right.
But JJ did deliberately disregard everything that came before it. We have, more than enough evidence from different places, including Quentin Tarantino himself, who said, nobody cares, nobody likes it, do what you want. So he's admitting defeat, and we know the whole reason he wanted to do this from the beginning had nothing to do with the 25% shit so much. That had everything to do with money. And even though people have quoted us from time and time again when it comes to that, the 25% thing only comes into play when it has to do with if they want to, make a toy.
Merchandise.
Yeah,
All the merchandising. But otherwise, they can do and stick to canon however they feel fit. That has never been anything that's been argued about, but people seem to think that that's the argument we're making is no. It's not because they have to. It's because they want to, and they're deliberately going against the grain on purpose, and that's what JJ has been doing from the start. And the fact that they're setting this Picard show in the same exact timeline shows that they've learned absolutely fucking nothing. Nothing at all, because now there's no excuses. Paramount and CBS are under the same damn roof. As far as I know, JJ's out of the picture anyway. As far as I know, his The Bad Robot deal ended this year or whatever, since they didn't get that movie out. Unless there's still a little time left on it, and that's why they're rushing this Tarantino thing.
No, I think there's still time left on it because I'm seeing, oh yeah, Chris Pine still wants to do Star Trek 4. So I'm still seeing
here's the thing though,
articles.
and I think this comes from something Tarantino said recently, because he talked about it a bit more. You know, he said that he wants to use those actors as the characters because he loves how close they are to the original, or how they capture their spirit, but it's not going to be a direct sequel to the other Star Trek. That's basically what he said, if he does it.
You know, I actually liked the JJ movies. I just feel like if they were going to go that far away from Star Trek, they should have just done like a Star Trek reboot and let JJ do his own thing. You know, if they were going to do that, you know, just make it a reboot then. If you're going to go that far.
Well, that's kind of what it was, but they wanted to be able, how did they put it, Rob? They wanted to be able to retain the old fans and keep the old timeline and not be, because the thing is that has to do with merchandising too, and I think we've covered this several times. The thing is they wanted to be able to say that the old canon still exists, so they can keep selling merchandise, because the old canon merchandise is a $30-40 million at least a year, you know, revenue stream.
Yeah. It rivals Star Wars.
We actually, someone on the Facebook group said, I'm not going to mention his name. He said that actually Anovos is discontinuing their new Trek line of merchandise.
Really? If that's true, and they do, that's a big hit to them, because that's one of the few that they have, contracts they have, because, you know, that's the thing. Where's all the Star Trek merchandise? I went into a bunch of toy stores a couple weeks back. I seen zero, not one Star Trek Discovery bit of merchandise at all. It was all old Trek.
In the entirety of Star Trek Las Vegas, the big exhibition hall, the big vendors hall, big ballroom, no Discovery merchandise.
There was some, but
there was a little here and there. It's like
it was mostly
badges.
Yeah. It was mostly stuff that they could produce themselves. It was like T-shirts and posters and shit like that.
Badges,
yeah. Well, if you look at even like the coin pushers at Dave & Buster's that have Star Trek in them, they're all old Star Trek characters. There's not a damn thing of Discovery.
Yeah, they still have Eagle Moss, but a lot of that shit, to my understanding, is very expensive and high-end collectible.
They're like $80 ships. Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Star Trek has always been the one thing, even though it's never been like this huge Star Wars type brand. The toys have always been very popular. Like Playmates for years ran off the Star Trek line. And they were very popular. Yeah, we've seen tons of those at the convention still.
I just saw a doc on Netflix about, I think it was Netflix, about Star Trek merchandise. And when Star Trek first started getting popular, they literally took like a Star Trek sticker and put it on every single toy.
Like, that was the Howard, the toys that made us. I seen that.
Yeah, that was interesting. Yeah,
and that was early on because they didn't know what they had at that point. And you didn't have a lot of merchandising attached to like shows and, you know, all that kind of stuff back then, so they were kind of new.
Yeah, they had it for like pretty much all the 60s shows. You know, like they'd have weird Batman squirt guns and stuff.
Oh yeah, because they didn't really know how to market that shit.
The Batman squirt gun. I've been looking for that for years.
But then you got into like when they started doing the repeats, then they started doing merchandise that was actually branded for Star Trek, and it got a little bit higher quality. You had, you know, like the ship that would fly in like a circle.
Oh yeah,
they had the model kits were always a mainstay.
I had that.
They instead of repurposed guns, they actually brought out some phasers and shit that actually looked right and stuff, if I remember correctly. And
they weren't child size. You know what I had that I loved when I was a kid was the teleporter. I actually had that. I had the Spock teleporter thing.
And the one that Mecca's gonna scream out here in a second, of course, the thing that really cracked the whole thing open wide. The Mego dolls.
Oh yeah, I love the Megos because those are like they're just higher quality action figures.
And I bet you those are still some of the highest selling Mego dolls that were.
Well, that's all I was buying recently. Even like it was the Star Trek Megos, and then I had to just say, you know what, no more Star Trek. It's like I've quit buying them, and as much as I want them, I've quit buying the Megos even because of Star Trek.
I get all my Star Trek toys from Loot Crate. Anything that comes out of Loot Crate. I have a Star Trek Loot Crate thing.
Isn't Loot Crate going out of business?
Yes, they are.
Yeah. An alternative to that, because they are, is Geek Fuel does like a 4-box a year kind of thing, and they have a lot of Star Trek stuff.
There is one I used to go through out of Canada called Nerd Block that isn't bad. They aren't great, but they're not bad. They have really good shirts though, and I still go through their shirt company, Shirt Punch, all the time to get shirts. We almost had a deal with them.
Really?
It just kind of fell apart. Yeah.
Bummer.
Yeah, Loot Wear does that too. Yeah, the monthly shirt. That was interesting. It's
But like
usually
everybody
just
loves
rehab
my
stuff.
shirts all the time I get from them. It's like that's where I get them. So
I like-
mine from
like-
Mixed Tees.
I'd like to get a deal with Harry's Razors. Hey, if anybody out there, I could use some free shaving stuff.
sure, why not? I will take we're not totally against that, but we don't like to
Well,
ask
the
for
thing is,
advertisers,
we'd
so-
the thing is,
we don't
we'd
want
rather-
anybody who's going to be able to influence our opinions. That's our main thing.
Yeah, Harry's Razors, like I said, it doesn't have anything to do with Star Trek or Star Wars or whatever. That's something like, or Doritos.
Well, even Doritos is pushing it because they actually usually get into a lot of sponsorships and stuff. And anything that we could have a possibility of coming back and saying, look, why don't you give this movie a break? That would be a bad conflict of interest on our part. But
Yeah, we just did a sponsor for a video for this Dashland company, and I used their thing for like a week. And this is not an advertisement because while they're a great sponsor, they were a great sponsor. I didn't actually, the product itself, I didn't trust. So I used it for a couple days, and then I uninstalled it because it saves all your passwords in like
lovely.
their server, and you're like, I know how servers work, and I don't feel like this is as secure as they think it is. Great company, but I ended up stopped using the product because I'm actually worried that my passwords are going to leak out.
But yeah, that's a bad thing to have them all in one place where they can get access to them.
I don't like that. Yeah.
Yeah, but we're working on some T-shirts and stuff. Hopefully soon. We've been talking to a few people about that. Hint, hint in the chat here.
I got you, bro.
Yeah, we're working on it. We're talking about it. But yeah, so we definitely got to
need
talk
artists
to Andre
that'll
about
work
that.
for free to design stuff. That's
Oh,
all.
I have
well,
that.
I know not some kid.
Yeah, I need people I can like ask and then they deliver.
If you guys
No,
need
I know. No, well, the
t-shirts-
not some kid was kind of a joke. But actually, if you
Right.
tell me what you want, generally I can. find
Yeah, that's
out
the
what
other
you
thing
want.
is like I have no idea what I want.
Guys,
Well,
we have artists, man. Just say the word. We got you.
I was about
See,
to.
I
I was
have
about
this
to-
thing where I want to hit 60,000 subs before I really start doing merch because, I will feel like a real YouTuber. That's kind of like the magic number for me.
Well, we almost can't avoid it anyway. We get so many requests for it at this point that it's like we can't really avoid
I get one or two requests, but at the same time, it's like, yeah, I've only really sold
Well-
one sticker. So
Well, coffee mugs, I've been saying, are probably the best thing to do because it's something that's useful. Even if you don't use it to drink out of, you can just prop it up on your shelf, put like your concert stubs or pens in it or whatever, or your loose change, and it reminds you of the show every time you look at it. Oh, hey, my Midnight's Edge mug,
Yeah, well, we're looking into that. That's all I'm going to say at this point because Andre's not here, so obviously we haven't committed to anything yet. So
Yeah,
Dude,
one thing.
I have a fraction of the subscribers you do, and I've been selling Popcast shirts for like 4 months, like 2 or 3 a week.
I was about to say though, the whole Dash Lane thing, the PC I'm using came with Dash Lane on it, and it was the most obtrusive thing on there.
Yeah.
It just kept popping up every time I started. Every time it just kept popping up. Do you want to Dash Lane? Dash Lane? Dash Lane? Like, would you leave me alone? And finally, I just like, how do I uninstall this thing?
It's
So
really
finally-
aggressive. Like,
Yeah,
I
it
used
is.
and they're a great sponsor, but it's so aggressive, and it wants to store everything. And you're like, I don't know if I feel comfortable storing everything. Like,
I
I ended up uninstalling it, and I'm not. That's not. I'm not saying they're bad. Go
No,
check them
no.
out. They sponsored. Thanks, guys. But for me, it just too much.
Yeah.
yeah, I suppose we're getting too much shop talk here and beyond the actual topic. But if you do like what we've done here, do check us out on Midnight's Edge After Dark. Check out Mecha's channel. That's at Mecha Random 42, and you can subscribe and hit the bell icon to get all her videos. She does a lot of great commentary over there, isn't that right, Mecha?
I yell and rant. Yeah,
We all do.
Well, what else can we do anymore?
I know.
But you do some very insightful videos, just like Popcast. Tell them where they can find you, of course.
Yeah, the Popcast. YouTube.com/the Popcast.
If you say hi in the chat, they can usually just click on your name, but we'll try and get your
It's spelled pop, not pod.
Yeah,
Okay.
pop.
Thank you.
pop. That's why I made the pop reference earlier. But yeah.
London, Paris, Frankfurt, Munich. Everybody talk about pop music, like that. Yeah.
But besides his own channel, Robot Shlomo, where can they find us, Rob?
Probably drunk in the gutter somewhere.
Besides jail, no.
Besides jail. Yes, you can find us at Midnight's Edge After Dark. You can find us at Midnight's Edge. You can find us on Twitter at Robot Shlomo and at Midnight's Edge After Dark.
There's always the plan to kidnap Shlomo and go to Japan.
Yes.
Well,
Yeah,
the last plot didn't work so well. Remember?
You find me in Mecca's trunk tied up.
All I know is that there was a ransom made. I said we couldn't pay it because we don't have that kind of money, and Rob showed up on our doorstep.
Yeah, in a giant basket, with a wow, mama.
Take him back, please, was all that was written on him.
Too much.
Take him back.
We'll pay you.
All right, folks.
Oh,
so
check us
yeah,
out on Twitter too. I forgot about that.
yes, Twitter, and of course, Rob. We also have a
Facebook group.
Star, and we have a Facebook group, and we have
And
a
the
PayPal, and we have a Patreon. Right?
Yeah, that's right. We have all different kinds of ways to support the show. But the best way you can support the show is that if you like, subscribe, click the bell icon, and share. That's always the best way to support the show.
And we hope Andre has safe travels, and we hope all of our friends out at NYCC are having safe travels as well, like Jeremy and Gary and everybody else. So
Yeah, that's right.
I was bummed out that I wasn't able to go there. It's too expensive, man. New York expensive.
Where
Oh,
are you
I would have
from?
loved to go out.
What's
Where,
that?
Brian, where are you from, actually? Without
Oh,
you know-
SoCal. Southern
Okay,
California.
okay, yeah, you're on the other side of the country, yeah.
Yeah, literally, yeah. Like that's why going to a
was
set
hoping-
visit with Seth will be easy, but doing anything else outside California is not.
Yeah.
well, let's cross our fingers for that one. Yeah.
I was supposed to wait for the guy to come paint the house, and he was supposed to give me an estimate and today, so I'm stuck here for a while. And I got a tree down in the yard too. I got to remove that, and somebody else is supposed to help. Nobody shows. No, I asked for people's help. Nobody shows.
Yeah.
Like motherfuckers.
Welcome to my life.
garage
Welcome
today.
to my life.
No one showed
All
up.
right. Well, Mecca is going to be streaming here shortly. Isn't that correct?
Yeah, I'm doing a pre-karaoke stream to kind of yell about Picard and figure out what songs I'm missing that I am karaoke on her channel. So,
Cruise on over there and check that out.
did you guys miss some super chats?
Did we? If
don't
we
think
did,
we-
I apologize.
Cardinal says you're not going to read the rest of the super chats. So,
Oh, I don't know if there was. Did we miss one? Let me
We
look.
have. I think we might have.
There was a 2-pound one I think we did miss.
Bummer.
Because this only goes back so far, and I don't have access to the other thing. Let me look here. We didn't. Nobody copied and pasted them, did they?
No.
yeah, repeat what you said in the super chat.
Yeah, real quick, and then we'll.
We
read
missed
them
you,
here.
so
Sorry
sorry.
about that. Well, we'll take a few minutes here with the audience, real quick. Anyway, so yeah, if you had a super chat, just re-say it. And
How bad was the STD trailer? It was as bad as an STD.
it was horrible. It made
It
it
looks
worse.
stupid. Well, Star Trek is just shit now. Sorry. Star Trek is just bad now.
Help us, Mikey Spock. You're our only hope.
Ugh. Help you off a cliff, Mikey Spock.
Mikey spot.
Well, that's what Doomcock called her, and it just kind of stuck.
Little Mikey Sue Spock.
I didn't
you really-
think we missed any super chat.
If you really want to
Nice
get.
super chat, Cardinal Sin. What did you say? So sorry about that.
Yeah. Cardinal Sin had a super chat I missed. I thought we got Cardinal Sin's super chat, or did he have another one? Or she, he, she, whatever. Sorry. I'm not seeing it here. What was it? I could have sworn. I know the one we got. Just say again what you said, Cardinal Sin. Yeah, because I'm not seeing it, and this only lets me go so far back. Sorry. Yeah, there you go, StreamYards. There's your next thing we got to fix.
StreamYards is actually pretty good. They got
Yeah,
some
not
pretty
bad.
good. They got some pretty good functionality, but from what you've told me, there are some bugs they need to iron out.
Just a few.
Have you guys tried Streamlabs?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, I use
That-
it for my super chat pop-ups, but I still use OBS Studio.
I use OBS with Streamlabs.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, there's a good super chat thing on there because you can actually see
Yeah,
you know,
that's what I
history.
have it. I have it through. I just connect it.
Oh motherfucker! Dude. I'll tell you about this off the air.
All right, well, we're waiting to get Cardinal Sin's thing here, but I would think that'd be the only one we missed otherwise. Oh.
I could have sold that for.
Don't everybody talk
So-
at once.
Oh,
Yeah, don't
okay.
even pay once.
Well, we're just waiting for them to. We're waiting for
I
them
know.
to type it
I guess
again.
they didn't. Maybe they left. I'm hoping they didn't. Sorry.
I'm
Well-
looking. Okay, they're looking. They're looking. All right.
I say I know we caught the one, but oh, sorry. Otherwise, just paraphrase it.
Yeah, I can't scroll that far back. I didn't get here. Or I can only go to about 2:30 here. 2:26 in chat. My time.
I was
It's
driving
last
when-
20 minutes.
So I thought we grabbed them all, but I apologize if we didn't.
All right. Well, maybe we should just wrap it up anyway.
It'll show up. By the way,
No,
Rob,
super chat in yellow. Well, yeah, but if we can't scroll that far back, there's no way to see it.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Just re-ask the question, whatever it was.
Is that the crickets?
They say never mind. Oh, sorry, we didn't see
Sorry
it.
about that, Cardinal. I
Yeah,
know we got
sorry,
one of
yeah.
yours.
Type in what you were saying.
I know we got one of yours. Maybe you missed it, but if you did two, then we did miss it. I'm sorry. I know we did get the one you sent though. So
we were distracted by.
was that the one about Andromeda? Because that one we did get. If that one was yours, I can't remember now. Because yeah, I don't have access to them.
Oh yeah, looking at the video doesn't really remind the chat for me because I didn't get here until.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you'd
my
have to
computer
go back
wasn't on.
after the fact. But yeah, otherwise, if we can catch it again, we'll cover that on our next video. I promise you that. But yeah, let's get on out of here. We've drugged this on way too long. Sorry about that, Cardinal Sin. I know we got the one that you did send us. So if not, maybe you missed it. So this will be up, I'm sure, for a little bit for people to rewatch anyway. So,
Yeah. All right, everybody. I think that'll do for now. Thanks everybody for joining us. If we missed any super chats, we're very sorry. We apologize. Sometimes those things happen.
I was trying to keep an eye on them.
Yeah. Well, anyway, thanks for joining us. Like I said, like, subscribe, hit the bell icon, subscribe to the podcast, hit the bell icon over there, subscribe to Mecca, hit the bell icon over her channel. Check out our friends, and we will catch you next time.
Adios.
It was about the Mikey Spot character.
Oh.
So yeah, then it is one we missed, and I apologize. It was a $10 super chat. Huh. Weird. How did I miss that? Odd. Yeah, because this one won't let me go so far back. Huh. You guys have? Did you have the chat up the whole time, Rob?
Yeah, I did. It won't go. It won't go.
They
back
won't
that
let
far.
you go back either. Huh?
No.
Shoot.
Farthest I can go back is. It's not loading all the way.
Yeah,
I got top chat. Let me see if live chat's any different.
YouTube.
I tried that already. I went to the channel, but
Oh well.
all right. Well, sorry guys. Sorry about that, Cardinal Sin. We'll readdress it in the next chat. I promise you that. Because then we can go back and get it. Andre would have access to it, but unfortunately he's not here. So, yeah, we're gonna close this out, guys. Thanks for joining us, and we tried to get that last super chat in there. We do apologize again for not being able to get that on. So, all right, take care, guys.
Later.